The National Football League has been pushing to increase its international presence for decades, hosting preseason and regular season games in places like Mexico City and London in hopes of establishing new fan bases around the world. But with 20 million self described NFL fans, Brazil is actually the third largest market in the world for American football. While it's common to see Brazilians catching games on TV every Sunday, there's a severe lack of interest in actually playing the game themselves, particularly among youth. Brazilian American football teams often have players in their 40s and 50s, with very few players under the age of 30. This, combined with the high costs of equipment and lack of infrastructure, makes growing the game exceedingly difficult. But with a rising number of programs in the country and increasing popularity of the NFL, there's reason for optimism for those working to grow the game of American football in Brazil.
Can the veteran chase him down and pull off a shocker here? Completes it! Unbelievable at the end! He's done! Towards the near post, bouncing around dangerously in South Korea and scored! Can you believe it? Germany are going out of this World Cup, Kim!
Without any question, she is absolute state of the art right here.
Coming, you can't catch him. Usain Bolt, look at the time, 9:58 world record.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Growing the Game. I'm Zach Mason, and today I'm joined by Henrique Riffel, the editor-in-chief of popular website Futebol Americano Brazil, to talk specifics on the current state of American football in Brazil and what's being done to grow the game. Starting off, can you just kind of tell me, where did you grow up? Tell me a little bit about your hometown.
I born in Porto Alegre. It's a city. It's a capital city of state of Rio Grande do Sul. It's a southern state in Brazil. Maybe the weather it's like Texas.
Oh,
well, the same weather. So it's cold in winter and hot in summer. Mm-hmm. And this is my town and the weather also.
And so like when you were growing up, what were some of the sports that you were playing? What was common? I imagine soccer or football was primary, but what else? What other kind of activities did you get involved in as a child?
Besides soccer, I'm introducing handball, basketball and volleyball in the elementary school. So after that, the schools doesn't try to continue in sports in Brazil. That it's a huge problem.
So what do you mean by that? Like they don't try to continue sports in school. So there's like, no, you can't play sports in school against other schools. Is there like a recess time?
There's no infrastructure to continue in sports. We have a bad infrastructure to get into another levels. So this is one of the causes that we go bad in Olympics.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So there's infrastructure issues. And so like, for example, like the average high school, like what kind of facilities would they have? Does every high school have a soccer field? Is there?
No.
Really?
Just a couple of schools have the infrastructure to develop your students to another level, but most of schools don't have a infrastructure to do that.
Okay. So if you're a young athlete and you wanted to get better at, say, handball or volleyball or something like that, how would you do it?
By yourself.
Wow. Yeah. So what are there a lot of, I know we haven't even started about American football, but I'm just curious about like the sports structure as a whole. So are there like local clubs like you might see in Europe that you have clubs around different countries that help out with youth sports development? Is that something that's common in Brazil?
Yeah, we have a lot of programs here around 150. There's a lot of programs here, but football in Brazil is so expensive. So the people who play it belongs to I won't say the whole people, but most of them have money to pay the equipment and play football here in Brazil. So it's not so popular because of that.
Interesting. So when were you first introduced to American football? When was the first time? Was it on TV? Was it you saw someone playing in the park?
Yeah, my first introduction was watching TV
Mhm.
in the 90s. There was a channel here who passed the videotapes. So I don't watch the football in live. So I just saw the replays there. And this was in the early 90s. And this was how I was introduced in football here in Brazil. Then to play football, it's just a decade ago.
Mhm.
So football here, organized and played on field, how you see in the United States, is just a decade ago.
Mhm. So when you first watched those videos, was that professional football, college football?
Professional football, NFL, the college football here in Brazil, just pass on TV. I don't know, maybe 15 years.
Mhm. Okay,
So
yeah.
it's just recent.
Do you remember which teams that you watched first, or which ones you liked the most?
I think it was the Miami Dolphins,
Okay.
but I don't remember. I was just 5.
They were a great
The
team
famous,
in the 90s.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, they were, but they were the famous team here in Brazil
Oh,
with the 49ers. I
okay.
think I saw a Miami Dolphins and saw the Dolphin. I was a kid and
Yeah.
saw the Dolphin jumping around. This is cool, man. I watched it.
So the Dolphins and 49ers were the most popular in Brazil.
Yeah, most popular. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I was just a kid.
Interesting. So when you were first introduced to football, um, what what did you like about it? Like, what was the appeal to that sport? What stood out to you?
Man, I think the equipment
Hmm.
is a kind of weird thing in Brazil. We don't see a lot people using the equipment, and I think when I was young, I watched those players and think, wow, they using that. They kind of hero,
Oh,
they are hitting Telder and getting up too fast. Man, they are strong. I won't be like that. No,
wow.
kind of a hero.
Wow. That's really interesting to hear that perspective. Yeah. So I did a little bit of reading and I saw, and I don't know how much truth there is to this, but football wasn't really introduced to Brazil until like around the 2014 area, and it was on the beaches.
No, the beach football was played since 1985, I think.
Really? Okay. And was that like a flag football variant? Was it tackling?
Tackle without pads.
Wow.
It's weird, right?
In the sand.
They play it in beaches of Rio de Janeiro,
Mhm.
and well, the players think the sand soft the
Right.
hitting, so they don't need to use pads. Well,
Okay.
the football evolved to grass and in tackle using equipments. Thank you.
So did you ever participate in some of that beach football?
No, never, 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 never.
Yeah.
I did play without pads a
Mhm.
couple of times, but man, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
No, no way.
You could get hurt pretty quick doing that, I
Right.
imagine. So at what point did you decide that you wanted to turn this kind of into a career? You start your website, Football Americano Brazil.
Okay.
What prompted that?
Well, I think my position as a journalist, I have the task to get this into another level. The football in Brazil is pretty mature, and I'm trying to develop that into some pro. And this is my task. I'm trying to do my best to get it into another level.
And I noticed that your website's mission is to build and share and establish American football as a sport known within the Brazilian and Portuguese community. What's the response been like in Portugal? What's the level of football being played there? Are they a little bit behind Brazil? Are they moving quickly?
No, they are more mature than we are. Yeah, there are a few programs there, around 10, and they face too much barrels to get into another level because there's no too much players to play football there.
So why did you choose to include Portugal in your mission and trying to grow the game of football? You could have focused on just Brazil, but you wanted to include Portugal. Obviously, there's the language, similarities there. But were there any other reasons?
Yeah, I'm trying to establish a link between the countries because the language itself, but there's a lot of Brazilians live in Portugal. So I'm trying to not send the Brazilian players to play there, but to establish a link where Brazilians can play there and Portuguese can play here.
Tell me about the role of the American Football Brazilian Confederation. That's the national governing body for American football. Starting off, what's your relationship with them? Do you work with them on any level?
No. I don't belong to CBFA, the Brazilian Confederation, but I try to help them to get the football bigger here in Brazil, trying to make it popular, but I don't work with them.
So what have you seen from them in terms of trying to grow the game of American football in Brazil? Like what are some of the initiatives they have in place? Are there events? Do they have websites like the ones you've created?
It's hard to organize a mature level. So they're trying to do is to organize themselves to help these 150 programs that we have here. Well, how can I say that? They don't have money to help for real. So there's a lot of talk among them, and that's how they can help right now. Just saying, well, you have to do this, we have to do that, try to do this, try to do that, but we don't have money to help you right now.
Okay. Yeah. So they might help with more just like advice or guidance or maybe some volunteering. Okay.
Yeah. Well, they try to create a national team. Well, we call it Brazil Onças. Onças in English, Jaguar. So Brazil Jaguars. It's our national team. They played in IFAF World Championship in 2015. So this is the main product of CBFA, and it's a kind of initiative to help our players get into another level. So we have a national team. If you play better than a lot of players, you'll be called to play with us.
And what is the makeup of the national team? I know in some of the leagues that you might have some 40, 50-year-old players playing alongside some 19-year-olds.
No. We don't have young players. This is a big issue that we're facing right now, trying to build youth under 20 programs.
Mhm.
When Brazilians start to play here, so they are too old to play that into professional level. I mean, for instance, I started to play when I was 26. Well, I was too old to be introduced to football. So this is we're trying to resolve, help the programs to create under 20, under 15, under 12 programs to help young people to play football early.
And what are some of the challenges increasing that youth participation? Because I imagine it's very difficult, and you also have the equipment, the costs. It's very expensive. So, what are some of the barriers that we are talking about to increasing that youth participation?
We don't have coach to teach us. So some of programs try to hire American coaches to get into another level. And these programs, which have money to pay that, to deal with that, they are better than others. So we don't have a knowledge to teach ourselves. So most of Brazilian coaches learn football from YouTube. It's weird now. We watch some videos and try to teach others.
Wow. Yeah. Probably not the most effective way. Yeah.
No. No, it's not.
Tell me a little bit about the international competitions. You mentioned EFOF. So they run events. They run these like world tournaments, basically like similar to like a World Cup, but on a much smaller scale. So Brazil has participated in 2015. Are there other international competitions that Brazil has been a part of, or regional competitions with other countries in South America?
They play five friendly games against Chile, Argentina, and Uruguay, and that's it.
Yeah. And of those countries that you mentioned, which of them have like the more mature, developed program or a national team?
Argentina it's a few steps in front of Uruguay and Chile.
Okay.
But the programs there play 9-a-side. They play with 9 players. They don't play with 11 because the same problem, the same issue that Portugal is facing. There's a couple of programs, but a couple of players to play that.
Wow. So what about, like, we've talked a little bit about infrastructure. The size of an American football field and a soccer field are a little bit different. I imagine there aren't very many fields that are just for American football and have those right dimensions. Is that right? Or are there some facilities that you guys use for those competitions?
No, we don't have any facility to play football. So the programs rent soccer fields and try to adapt to football. The field is smaller than American football field. The midline that divides the field in two, well, most of them are in the 45 or 40 yards, the center field.
So I want to talk a little about Cairo Santos. So he grows up in Brazil, but he goes to high school in America. That's where he's introduced to American football. What was the impact of Santos becoming the first Brazilian-born NFL player in history? Did a lot of people know that was going on? Did that reach the headlines in Brazil?
Yeah, it reached. Well, Santos didn't impact at all here in Brazil because, well, he's a place kicker.
Yeah, and
Brazilian likes the quarterback position.
Really? Okay.
He didn't impact at all. He impacted the place kickers, the special teams units.
And as a kicker, I imagine that there's more kickers, like, or people that would be interested in becoming a kicker.
Yeah. It's it. In fact, to get another kickers in Brazil. Well, we play soccer. We introduced it to soccer as a child. So that Brazilians, it's a kicker by talent,
Mm.
and we are not. We have a lot of issues in the special teams,
Oh.
and because the Brazilians thinks they can be quarterback, they go to the tryout. No, I want to be quarterback. No, you don't have talent to be quarterback. Go try another thing, maybe wide receiver, running back. If you are too big, have a big butt or fat, I don't know. Maybe you try to be a defensive line or offensive
Right.
line. Don't try to be a quarterback. And and no one wants to be a place kicker or punter. So I have a lot of issues into the special teams. And maybe
Wow.
I think maybe Santos impact in that area. So if you train hard, do your hard work, maybe somehow you can be like me.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and he just signed, I think, another 3-year contract with the Chicago Bears, $9 million. I mean, you have to wonder if, like, some Brazilians don't see that, like, oh, I kick the ball pretty well because I've been playing soccer my whole life. Maybe I could try out some, if I can kick a football, and maybe I have the talent to go make millions of dollars in America.
Well, they don't want to be kicker right now, even with the huge contract that Santos signed.
So, what role does flag football play in developing the game of American football in Brazil?
We trying to change the mindset to create more flag football programs, because we think that flag football is the first step to get into tackle,
Hmm.
and we don't have too many flag programs here. The flag is real developed in São Paulo. In
Hmm.
other states, they are done. So we're
Yeah.
trying to change our mindset. Well, trying to talk with the programs and make them create under 20 programs and
Mhm.
flag football programs to get young players more prepared to play tackle.
Are there concerns from parents about the safety of the game? Is that something another obstacle that you face in getting younger kids involved in playing football? Is it like the parents are like, "Oh, I don't want my kid taking hits to the head"?
No, I don't think so, because there aren't too many information about that in here in Brazil,
Hmm.
and the football is too expensive. So I think the great barrier is the financial issue.
Hmm.
But I don't think the parents think about get your kid hit in the head,
Hmm.
because we don't have too many information about that. They know that football, it's a contact game,
Hmm.
but I don't think this is the most concern about parents.
Hmm. So, what is a realistic goal for you in developing American football in Brazil? Like, what in a perfect world, how do you see the participation levels? Is there a certain, like, defined goal that you have in terms of how many kids that are playing the game, or maybe how many fans come to the professional games, or how well it does in international competitions?
Well, I think the first step is to change the mindset.
Hmm.
We need to think how to make football as a product to be sold.
Hmm.
So if we don't have money to continue the program, the football in Brazil will end. So we need the first step is how to make this product consumed by fans. We have a lot of fans of NFL, but we don't have fans who consume our local programs.
Hmm.
No. This is the first issue: how to make it product to be sold to NFL fans and bring them to consume more products. This is
Mhm.
the first step. Then I think the second step is to create under 20, under 15, under 12 programs and flag football.
Mhm.
Because as I say to you, the players are too old to continue they're too old to play until 35, because football here in Brazil is too expensive.
Mhm.
They pay to play. It's weird. So they have the issues with their families. They need to care their families. They work. They study. And the football, it's not the primary.
It doesn't make money for them, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I think this is these are the two steps we need to get into.
Mhm.
Change our mind to how to make football as a product to be sold
Mhm.
and consume, and create under 20, under 15, under 12 programs and flag football programs to bring young players to continue our programs for decades.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned that there are NFL fans in Brazil. Um, how how substantial is the NFL following in Brazil? Is it easy to watch games live nowadays?
Yeah, because the cable TV was getting popular in
Mhm.
the 90s. So most of the actual players saw the game on TV. ESPN passes in their channel 5 games in the regular season
Mhm.
by week. And it's too easy to watch now and consume NFL here in Brazil. I think we are the third or the fourth market in the number of fans who consume the NFL outside the United States.
Wow.
There's a survey which was made in 2015 to say that
Mhm.
there's a lot of NFL fans here in Brazil that consume the NFL for a long time.
Mhm.
And maybe we are the third or the fourth market.
Yeah, in terms of just like, yeah, NFL's reach,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
NFL reach here in Brazil,
Mhm.
but well, how NFL fans impact in local programs? This is a issue.
Mhm.
It's also an issue. We trying to bring this NFL fan to consumer programs.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how much the NFL's success will impact the success of American football in Brazil at a local level. Like if the NFL becomes less popular in Brazil, then American football in the local programs in Brazil might also have some difficulty.
Yeah, I think if the NFL won't be successful here in Brazil, the local programs will
Mhm.
end.
Does the NFL, like, since the NFL knows that Brazil is a growing market for them and it's already a relatively popular market, are they doing any investing that you've seen in local football in Brazil?
No, but a good news came from yesterday. The NFL wants to create an event here in South America, but didn't say where. Just
Wow.
say it. They want to do a game here.
Mhm.
They didn't say if it will be a preseason or regular season. I
Mhm.
don't know. But they want to create an event in South America. I think Brazil, as I
Mhm.
say too, it's a huge market,
Mhm.
but they didn't say where. We want to create an event in South America. Just say
Mhm.
that.
So if let's say they did a regular season or a preseason game in Brazil, do you think they could sell out a stadium? Do you think it wouldn't be that popular?
Yeah, I think the stadium, the chosen stadium, will be filled up
Mhm.
with a lot of fans.
Wow.
I, if they do that, I think São Paulo or Rio de Janeiro
Mhm.
will hold the event, and the NFL player, the NFL fan, sorry, the NFL fan here in Brazil They don't care if you'll be in São Paulo or Rio de Janeiro. They'll travel there just to watch it.
So that could be some really big news if they end up choosing Brazil. What reasons, as we kind of come to a close here, what reasons do you see to be optimistic about the growth of American football in Brazil? What are some of the good things that are happening that you've seen? We've talked a lot about obstacles and challenges, but is there anything that you're seeing that kind of gives you hope for American football in Brazil?
Yeah, well, 10 years ago, maybe 12, we have around 10 programs in all country.
Mm-hmm.
And then after this decade, we increased the number of programs to 150,
Mm-hmm.
and we try to hit 200.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of fans they are trying to play. So this is my optimistic view. We are increasing our interest to play football.
Mm-hmm.
It is expensive sport. We don't care. We are trying to play, and we are seeing young people trying to play it also.
I think that was really informative and really good information that you gave us. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today.
Oh no, I appreciate the invitation to be here and talk about the growing football here in Brazil.